President Trump gave the State of the Union address last night, and it was red meat for MAGA. This is the Nicole Osei report. So here's some key takeaways from the speech. Trump boasted about what he's done for the country so far. He even leaned into some of the moves that have been deemed by some as controversial, such as the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, and the cuts that it's made. He even talked up the tariffs, which we know from recent polling are deeply unpopular. He also talked a lot about culture war issues, bragging that he essentially killed diversity, equity, inclusion, and that wokeism is dead. He talked about the Democrats a lot. He said that they wouldn't vote for anything that he's done. He chastised them for not clapping. They remained seated during a speech, and some of them held signs in protest. Now, there were a lot of inaccurate statements that were made during the speech, and that's not uncommon with any administration. There are going to be some fudging in the speech, but there were some absolute doozies in this one, and too many to name, so I'm just going to mention two. He claimed that DOGE found hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud and waste, and we know from recent reporting that we haven't seen the facts bear out on those statements, and we're still waiting to see that. He also talked about Social Security, claiming that there were lots of people who were dead over 120 years and even older who were still getting payments. But we know from his own head of that department, who has publicly said that that's not true. Now, he also hinted at what he wants his Republican-led Congress to get done. So more money for deportations, more major tax cuts, and mandating the death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer. And he also gave some shout outs to special guests. Like, for example, the family of firefighter Corey Comparatori was in attendance. He was the one who was killed during the Trump assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania last year. Now, on to the rebuttal. It was given by Senator Elissa Slotnik of Minnesota. She started by introducing herself. She's a former CIA officer who's worked under both the Bush and Obama administrations. She talked about her parents. Her father was a Republican, mother a Democrat. And she also talked about the fact, and I thought this was very interesting, that in 2024, she won in a state that Trump also won. So again, it shows that deep political divide our country's experiencing right now. So here's some key things that stood out in her speech. She talked about how the middle class is the country's life's blood and called for more policies to be put in place to ensure that that class continues to grow instead of policies designed to make billionaires even wealthier. She also talked about DOGE and Musk's, quote, gang of 20-year-olds who have access to our sensitive data, why that's alarming, and why everyone should be paying attention. She basically, in her speech, laid out a path for Democrats to follow in terms of focus. We saw from the past election that they've lost ground with the working class, and that's a group that they used to heavily resonate with. So what really stood out for me was the difference in the tone, the messaging, and who they were speaking to in both of their speeches. But I want to know, did you watch the speech? What were your thoughts about it? Let me know in the comments below. And tomorrow I'm going to have an interview with a political scientist, and we'll break down this speech even further and what it means for the country. And if this is content that you like, news, politics, and current events, don't forget to like and subscribe.